Hello, and welcome to the Joy CEO podcast. I'm your host, Lori Pine, and I am so pleased to have you here with me today. This is a podcast about leadership, about growing your career, and using joy as a leadership strategy, not a bunch of fluff. We are going to jump in today. I have some exciting things to share with you. If you are new here today, welcome. So glad you are joining. And if you have been with me for a while, thank you for coming back. You know that I adore you and so appreciate the fact that you listen in. My mission is just to impact one person at a time. And if that is you today, really, it is my honor. So it's been a little bit busy over here in my world. I hosted a retreat last week where 10 women who are part of my small group coaching community called The Connect flew in from all over the country and spent 2.5 days with me here in the beautiful Hudson Valley of New York. And it was one of those experiences where I felt like it just really brought out the best in me. I was able to host them, entertain them, shower them with gifts. And, gifts is kind of my love language. Generosity is one of my core values. And really get to do what is my superpower, which is bringing amazing, brilliant, vibrant, superstar women together for the sole purpose of connecting them. And when the tide rises, all the ships rise. Every single woman is better as a result of having invested that time and energy with one another. I will literally die on the sword for this belief. We are all better when we are together. It is in the isolation, it is in the stinking thinking where we get into trouble because we start to think that it's only us and that we are chronically and perpetually unique. When in fact, so much of what is happening to you and to me is happening to so many other women. And the more we open up and the more we share about it, the more connected we become, the more empathy we have for one another, the deeper that empathy can grow for ourselves, and the more we can remove the rocks and actually get after our biggest, boldest, brightest dreams. And that, my friends, is joyful living. At the retreat, I brought back Dr. Andi Simon. She was on the podcast in episode 26. So if you haven't listened to that, go back because she is just this walking encyclopedia of wisdom. Everything she says, you just want to hang on to. It's like she's a prophet and you just want to listen to her. So Andi has really become just a dear friend and a mentor to me. I feel so privileged to have her in my very tight circle of board of directors. So it was very obvious to me when I was putting this retreat together and planning the agenda that I would include Andi and ask her if she would be willing to be the keynote speaker on Friday morning. And of course she was. What unfolded was this really powerful conversation about curiosity. If you didn't listen to episode 26, let me just give you a little overview of Andi. She's a trained anthropologist, a PhD in anthropology, and she was able to apply those principles to business. She, for the past 20 years, has run a consulting company and has coined herself a corporate anthropologist. She goes into businesses And she basically uncovers what is happening, asks a lot of questions, gets really curious, considers herself an explorer, and uncovers and discovers what is happening inside of businesses. And it has made her incredibly effective because she's willing to operate in the gray. She's willing to be in the change, where humans by nature are incredibly uncomfortable. So Andi was able to come be with our group in this cozy little setting that I set up. And she was able to really talk to us about the power of curiosity and how often are you or somebody on your team saying, we don't do that. That isn't something our company offers. That isn't in our business model. Or on a personal note, we don't do that in our marriage. We don't do that in our family. And what if you were able to get curious about that? Would that open up an opportunity for you? And Andi posed that question to my 10 retreat guests. And we really were able to open up about what would it look like? What could change? What would have to be true in order for our thinking to even allow an opportunity for the space to begin to process, could something else be true? And Andi gave several examples of clients she's worked with, clients who thought that their product was used for one thing, but when she started interviewing actual distributors, actual consumers, she found out the product was being used for something entirely different. And then that gave her an opportunity to work with the founder of the business to say, do you see what's happening here? You think it's X, when in fact, the end user is using it for Y. What could happen if your product was actually marketed for Y? And light bulbs go off. You know, something similar happened to me in my personal life about 20 years ago. When I was getting divorced, I had 2 little boys, and anybody I knew at that time who was getting divorced seemed to do it in a very cookie cutter way. It was every other weekend, share the kids, make sure the custody is split, and have a quiet, ongoing war. Don't really be nice to each other. Don't like each other. Say some under your breath, horrible things about the other person, and put the kids in the middle. And I was observing this, and I didn't want to be part of that. The unspoken rule seemed to be, we don't do it any other way. These are the rules for getting divorced. This is the protocol for how you act. And consequently, this is how your children will be impacted. And for me, that didn't seem like an option. So I didn't do that. Instead, I did the opposite. I made sure that even though I had every reason to be angry or self-righteous or indignant, I wasn't. I kept coming back to the fact that my boys were half him and half me. And I continuously told them, we only gave you the best parts of us. We kept all the bad for ourselves. And I reinforced time and time and time again that everything good about their dad went into them. And everything good about their mom also went into them. And so therefore, they were pure and good and full of love. And even though we didn't work out, we could still be friends. We could still be a little family. And it could be okay. And so I included my ex in everything, in birthdays, in holidays, in family parties, in the schedules, in all of their sporting events, in school events, when my son was in a play. I didn't gatekeep anything. And as a result, he was a part of. And they have a childhood that includes both of us, not just one of us, not just the other. They have Christmas memories where my ex-husband slept in the guest room and was here when they opened their tree. And why would I do that? Not for me. That didn't make my life easier. For them. And because I was able to get curious about what could be, what was the possibility? What was the possibility for me and the mother I wanted to be? The divorced mother, the single mother. What was I able to live with? And I wasn't able to live with a version of myself who was nasty and ugly and constantly fighting. In fact, when I was in the judge's quarters, finalizing my divorce, I had to fly back to Little Rock, Arkansas, and I had waived any rights to child support or any financial support. The judge really questioned me. And I just said to him, I don't want to spend the next 18 years fighting with somebody over money or something I'm not sure he can ever uphold. I don't want to see him thrown in jail over it. And so I want to trust that there is enough in this universe, that there's enough in this world that I will be taken care of, and so will he. But most importantly, that my boys will be. And I look back, and that was the right decision for me because we were all taken care of, and it worked out for everybody. So my boys are now 22 and 24. And they've thanked me separately on different occasions, really unprompted, for being good to their dad. And that really says something. So when you get curious, what happens for you? If you are facing something, whether it's personal or professional, and there isn't a framework, there isn't something to tell you how to do it differently, could you trust your intuition? Could you trust that somewhere inside of you, there are guiding principles, guiding lights, like a runway on an airport, that will lead you to where you're meant to be led? It's the same no matter what we're doing. This applies to your business too. Where are the nuggets that you currently can't see? I was on a panel with one of the marketing experts from Duolingo, and she said, all of the nuggets are in the consumer comments. She said, that's where we go for all of our innovation. That's where we go for our next marketing plans. That's those comments from consumers in our social feeds dictate where we go next. So mining that consumer information is so powerful. Are you doing that for your business in the position that you're in? Whether you're calling on customers for that customer, do you know what is being said about your product for your customer? If you're a business owner, do you really know how your customers are using your product? And is there this white space of opportunity that you're not even paying attention to? So instead of, insisting that this is how it's done or we don't do that, what if? And what would that possibility look like? So in closing, ask yourself where the we don't do that is living in your life. Is it showing up at work? Is it showing up with your customers? Is it showing up in how you lead? Is it showing up in your personal life? And when you say we don't do that, is it a principled thing? Is it a fear-based thing? Is it a scarcity thing? And other than something that's like really dangerous or goes against your values, what if you did do something? What if you took the vacation? What if you played hooky on a Friday afternoon in the summer and everybody went to the beach? What if you could lighten up a little and not take yourself and your work and what's going on in the world quite so seriously? Could you find room for a little bit more joy? Because that's the real key. Joy lives within you, and you can choose it in any moment. It can coexist with other emotions, but it lives within. And when you're choosing joy, you're operating at a higher vibration. And so it's really hard to be joyful and angry. So my friends, get curious. Look around. See what it is there is to see. Start asking questions. Ask your customers. Ask your employees. Ask people. What is happening? How do you use this? How do you use us? Where's this product? What could it be? And uncover untapped potential and just watch what could happen if you get curious. I'm Lori Pine, the Joy CEO, and I'm so glad to be doing it with you. Have an amazing week. Please be sure to sign up for my newsletter where I give you so many tricks, tips, hacks on how to find more joy in your leadership. And be sure to share this episode with a friend. Glad to be doing it with you. See you next week.